Since you can probably count the number of people who enjoy playing the 2001D on one hand, I am quite happy to upload more videos of it. At the moment I'm trying to clear my backlog of recordings in anticipation of 9.0 test, which should be hitting pretty soon, I think. Meanwhile, my uploading backlog as of today, the 20th of March, is so far behind that I'm still uploading 8.9 games. So I have no idea when this will hit YouTube. But either way, obviously I'm playing my 2001D. I'm solo pubbing because it's rather difficult to find platoon mates that are willing to play tier 4s. And when they do, they tend to want to play very, very strong tier 4s. Now, I contend this thing's pretty strong, especially for its tier, but things like the M8A1, the Hetzer firing heat, or even the Panzer III are just a lot more solid. I would say I'm probably better with this thing than most people are with even the, go-to tier 4 tanks, but it's still a tank that you can't really afford to make mistakes in. I decided to head north because my team has clearly sent enough tanks to south and mid, and also north is just kind of a habit of mine. If I'm in a medium tank, a light tank, anything that's relatively mobile, and particularly if it's not that well armoured, it comes north. So our Electros up here, our T40s come up here, and we got a 1C. So the first thing I encounter is the Lee. He's actually quite scary to me, so I want him dealt with in a hurry. He does get one shot into me, but thankfully that's all. The Lee is very, very, very high DPM for a tier 4 tank. It's not something you want to be in front of. You'll probably notice that in both this and my Panzer III, and eventually once I get it the DW2, I am very, very liberal with the APCR. The 5cm gun isn't bad, but the APCR is just so much of an improvement in shell velocity, in penetration, and it's relatively cheap. I honestly am quite happy to sling huge amounts of APCR out of this gun. Obviously I'm not going to fire pure APCR, that's just ridiculous, it's too expensive and there's no need, but you'll see me very often when I play this and the Panzer III, I switch between both types of ammunition depending on what I'm facing. So you can see here I switch back to AP for that guy. I figured I wouldn't need APCR. You'll also notice, and I can just picture the look on Rob's face as I say this, I auto-aim a lot in my low tier tanks, particularly this thing. Not just when I'm firing on the move, but when I'm peeking around corners, when I'm chasing somebody, even when I'm just trying to snapshot somebody. And I actually have a theory on this. I contend that auto-aim at low tiers is actually less risky than manually aiming, whereas at high tiers, auto-aiming is more risky. Now, the reason for this, I think, is a goodbye, Mr. Kavion. At low tiers, you have so much less of a hit point pool to play with, and the guns are all fast-firing, relatively low alpha, but if you sit in front of him for too long, you'll be blown away. So I think the low tier tanks lend themselves more to quickly popping out around a corner, blasting a shot off before you're even have a chance to get spotted, and then duck back around the corner. And if the shot misses or bounces because of your auto aim, it doesn't really matter because you'll have another shot ready in 2 or 3 seconds, and you didn't take a hit. Whereas if I was to roll around a corner and actually sit and steadily aim for somebody's weak spots, I would be in trouble. I might take a hit, I might take 2 hits, and at low tiers, particularly with people slinging HE out of dirt guns, that could be fatal. So I don't know, there's situations where it doesn't work. If I'm firing at something heavily armoured, say a KV, it doesn't work. If I'm firing at something that's just so small and so far, like 1Cs for instance, if there's a 1C charging at me and he's actually weaving or turning corners, I can't hit him with auto aim, I'm not going to even try. But things like most tier 4s, Hetzers to an extent, Lees certainly, Panzer IIIs, 2001Ds, T40s, most of the tier 4s, T28s in particular, I would say you can get away with auto-aiming in the Panzer III and the 2001D, as well as a bunch of the other tanks. You'll notice I do it in my BTS as well. Sort of the general rule, I think, is if you have the penetration to pen it just about anywhere, and you have the accuracy to actually have a good chance of hitting the enemy tank, because auto-aim goes for center of mass, unless it's something stupid like a T-57 where it aims at the top of the fucking gun, you actually have a really good chance of hitting them and penning them, perhaps better than if you drove out and fucked around with your mouse for a while trying to get a good shot. But there you go, another match in the 2001D. There will probably be more as I play them. Like I said, I'm mostly solo pub in this tank, in fact almost exclusively, and so far I'm doing pretty well in it, certainly compared to my other tier 4s. And I'm doing a lot better in this than I was in my Panzer III, though, big disclaimer, I played the vast majority of my Panzer III games when I was fucking terrible at this game. And I mean like really, really bad, worse than I am now. But if anyone else actually likes this thing, I'd be interested to know, because I can't think of anybody who's openly stated their affection for this thing. I've seen lots of people deride it as being garbage. I don't agree with that. I think it certainly could use something more to differentiate it from the Panzer III, which at the moment has better mobility, better armor, the same gun. I think view range and a lot of the soft stats are virtually identical. I think this thing has slightly better traction, but by and large, in the ways that actually matter, the Panzer III is a better tank. So giving this thing something to differentiate it a little, I think would be handy. Perhaps, shit, I can't even think how you would, because they are very similar designs, but surely Wargaming would be able to think of something that would make it. It doesn't even have to be a different playstyle, it just has to be a worthwhile choice for people who aren't fucking giant spurg lords that want to play as many sort of early German medium tank designs as possible. Because at the moment, unless you're really into this kind of stuff, there's no reason. But we'll see how we go. Hopefully they will address it at some point. They've been restructuring the tree to account for historical battles. We're now getting early versions of the Stug 3 and early versions of the Panzer IV. So who knows, maybe we'll get more Panzer IIIs, and maybe they'll play with this thing a bit. I just really hope that at some point they come back and revise the 2001 and give people a reason to play it, other than to go up the Leopard line.